I never imagined my life would end up like this, not at my age. Not after everything I had survived, everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed for my children. But there I was, sitting under a cold concrete bridge with the wind cutting through my bones, holding a plastic grocery bag that carried the last of my belongings. I kept asking myself the same question. How did I get here? I used to have a home. I used to have a husband. I used to have children who said they loved me. But life has a cruel way of stripping away everything, slowly at first, then all at once. And on that night, as the freeway thundered above me and cars rushed past, not knowing or caring that an old woman sat shivering underneath, I thought I was going to die there. Until I heard a voice I hadn't heard in 27 years. A voice I thought I'd never hear again. A voice that made my heart stop. Mary? Oh my God. Mary! My head jerked up. My hands shook. And when I looked toward the beam of headlights shining through the underpass, I saw her. My sister. My younger, beautiful, successful sister, Evelyn. But to the world, she wasn't just Evelyn. She was Evelyn Grayson, the millionaire real estate mogul they called the condo queen. And there she was, crying as she ran toward me. The moment she saw me like that, a broken old woman under a bridge, I realized something. She wasn't the one who abandoned me. My own family did. And the truth of why would nearly destroy me later. Mary, what happened to you? She whispered, kneeling in front of me like she was afraid I'd disappear. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked like dried leaves. My kids, But I couldn't finish. The shame was too heavy. She pulled off her expensive coat, soft beige wool with gold buttons, and wrapped it around my shoulders. You're coming with me, she said firmly. There was no question in her voice, no hesitation. For the first time in years, someone decided I was worth saving. And I broke down in her arms. Evelyn's car was a sleek black SUV, the kind you only see in movies. Heated leather seats, soft lights, quiet engine. Everything felt unreal. I kept touching the seat like I might ruin it just by being there. I hadn't sat in a real car for months. As we drove, she kept glancing at me, her eyebrows pulled tight with worry. Mary, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell me something was wrong? I stared out the window. They took my phone, I whispered. Who did? I swallowed. My children. Her grip tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles turning white. Why would they do that? They said. I was becoming a burden. Her eyes filled with rage. Your own kids said that to you? I nodded weakly. They said I cost too much, so they put me out. She nearly slammed on the brakes. Mary, they dumped you on the street? Tears burned my eyes. They left me outside a shelter and drove off. I covered my face, ashamed to even say the words. Evelyn didn't speak again, not until we reached her building. I didn't know it then, but finding me under that bridge would change everything in her life. And mine, because the moment she brought me into her world, danger followed. Soon, we would both face something that money couldn't protect us from. Evelyn lived in a private high-rise, marble floors, chandeliers, security guards in tailored suits. People whispered as we walked in. I could hear them. Is that her sister? She looks homeless. Why would Evelyn bring someone like that here? But Evelyn didn't care. She held my hand the whole way. She took me to her penthouse, ran me a hot bath, gave me fresh clothes, and made me tea with honey, just like she used to when we were young. I felt human again. While I drank, she sat across from me, tears glistening. I can't let you live like that, Mary. I won't. I don't want to be a burden, I whispered. You're my sister. You're not a burden. You're family. That word family felt like a knife. Mine had thrown me away. Hers welcomed me back without hesitation. The next morning, Evelyn took me to a modern, beautiful building overlooking the ocean. What is this place? I asked. She smiled. Your new home. I froze. Eva, I can't. She placed the keys in my hand. You're not sleeping under a bridge ever again. This condo is yours. I shook my head in disbelief. It's too much. Mary, I owe you more than you know. It wasn't until later she told me what she meant. But at that moment she wasn't done. She pulled out a white envelope. My heart dropped when I saw the number printed on the check. $5 million. My knees nearly gave out. Evelyn, why? Why would you give me this? She wiped my tears. Because you deserve a life of peace. And because I finally can. I hugged her and cried like a child. For the first time in years, I felt safe. But safety is an illusion. Because 2 days after I moved into my new condo, they came. At first, I thought it was a mistake, strangers sitting in the lobby staring at me. Then the phone calls began. Then the letters. Then I saw one of them standing outside my bedroom window, on the 14th floor. And that was only the beginning. For the first 2 nights in my new condo, I didn't sleep. Not because anything was wrong in the home, it was beautiful. Soft white walls, warm lights, ocean view. Even a small balcony with a little wooden chair Evelyn had picked just for me. But I had lived through too much. Safety felt fragile. And peace felt temporary. On the 3rd day, something strange happened. Something that unsettled me in a way I couldn't understand at the time. I went downstairs to get the mail, and when I reached the lobby, I saw 2 men sitting on the leather couches. Business suits. Dark sunglasses. One held a newspaper but hadn't flipped a page in several minutes. The other had his eyes fixed on me. I slowed my steps, my fingers trembling slightly as I collected my envelope. When I turned around, both men were still staring. Not blinking. Not moving. Watching me. I hurried back to the elevator. And just as the doors began to close, I saw one of them stand up. The doors shut before he could reach me. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself rich buildings often had strange people around. But deep in my bones, I felt something was wrong. Terribly wrong. That afternoon, while drinking tea on the balcony, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, there was silence at first. Then a man's voice, slow, cold, too calm. "Mrs. Dawson," he said. My heart jumped. No one calls me that anymore," I whispered. He ignored me. "Congratulations on your new home. And the gift." I froze. He continued. "That's quite a generous sister you have." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. "Who is this?" I whispered. "You'll find out soon enough," he replied. "But for now, enjoy the view." Click. I stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly against the tiles. I rushed to the balcony railing and looked down. A black car was parked across the street. A man stood next to it, staring up at me. When he realized I saw him, he smiled. I had survived abandonment, homelessness, and hunger. But nothing had ever scared me the way that smile did. Because that smile didn't say, "I know where you live." It said, "I know why you're here." And I didn't even know that yet. I called Evelyn immediately. She answered on the first ring. "Mary? Are you okay? You sound scared." Someone called me. They knew about the condo. The money. They're watching me. Silence on the other end. Then she exhaled sharply. I was afraid of this. Afraid of what? I stammered. I'm on my way. Don't open the door for anyone. Her voice shook with urgency. I mean it, Mary. For anyone. When she arrived, she looked frightened. More frightened than I'd ever seen her. She locked every door. Closed every curtain. Checked every room like she was afraid someone might already be inside. Evelyn, please tell me what's going on, I begged. She sat down across from me, her hands trembling. There's something I haven't told you, she whispered. Something from our past. Something I thought would never find us again. I leaned forward. What past? What are you talking about? But before she could answer, there was a loud knock at the door. We both froze. 3 seconds passed. Another knock, harder this time. Evelyn stood up slowly, her face pale. She put a finger to her lips, telling me not to move. She walked to the door and looked through the peephole. A beat of silence. Then she mouthed, "It's them." My heart pounded so hard I could hear it echo. Another knock. "Open the door, Miss Grayson," a deep voice said. "We just want to talk." Evelyn stepped back from the door and grabbed my arm. "We have to leave. Now." She led me through the hallway, toward the back emergency stairwell. "Evie, please. I don't understand." "I'll explain everything once we're safe," she whispered. "But right now all you need to know is this. Those men aren't here for the money. Then what do they want?" Her voice shook. "You." We rushed down the stairwell, the sound of our steps echoing violently against the concrete walls. When we reached the parking garage, Evelyn almost ran toward her SUV. She shoved the keys into the ignition, but before she could start the engine, a dark figure stepped out from behind another car. I gasped. It was the same man from the street, the same man who watched me from the balcony. He lifted a hand casually, like greeting an old friend. "Leaving so soon, Mrs. Dawson?" Evelyn locked the doors instantly. "Mary, don't look at him," she said, her voice cracking with fear. But I couldn't look away. He stepped closer, his cold smile growing wider. Then he tapped lightly on the window, like knocking on the glass of a fish tank. Evelyn slammed the car into reverse and sped out of the garage, tires screeching. The man didn't chase. He didn't yell. He didn't even react. He just watched us leave, with a smile that made my skin crawl. "Evelyn, please tell me what's going on," I shouted as she drove. Her eyes darted between the road and the rearview mirror. "Those men," she said breathlessly, "work for a group your husband and I got involved with years ago." My stomach dropped. "My husband? Harold?" She nodded. "You remember how he suddenly had money when your kids were young? How he said he made a business deal?" I frowned. "Yes, but I thought that wasn't a business deal, Mary." Her voice cracked. "That was a debt." I felt the world shifting under me. "What kind of debt?" I whispered. She swallowed hard. "The kind that doesn't go away. The kind that gets passed down." A cold shiver ran through me. "Passed down." She nodded slowly. "They never wanted Harold. They want something he promised them." I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling the walls closing in. What could he possibly promise? We were poor. We had nothing. Evelyn took a deep breath. "Not money." She looked at me with trembling eyes. "You." And in that moment, I realized something terrible. My homelessness wasn't an accident. My children abandoning me wasn't a coincidence. Evelyn finding me under that bridge may have saved my life, 'cause those men weren't just watching me, they were waiting. I woke up the next morning in the condo my sister had given me. A place so luxurious it felt like an illusion. Soft sheets, warm light, a kitchen bigger than the shelter I used to sleep in. For the first time in years, I felt safe. But that feeling didn't last. When I stepped out of the bedroom, I noticed something strange. The front door was unlocked. I had locked it last night. I remember checking it twice. Trauma does that to people. But now, it was slightly open, just enough to send a cold chill down my spine. Maybe the wind, I whispered to myself. But this was a $1 million condo with automatic soft-close doors. The wind wasn't strong enough to push it open. I stepped closer. My heart thumped like it was trying to break free from my chest. And then I saw it. A shoe print on the marble flooring. Not mine. Not my sister's. Someone else had been inside. I froze. Everything inside me screamed, "Run." When you've been homeless long enough, you learn to sense danger, even when it's silent. I backed away slowly, eyes scanning the living room. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was out of place. But the air felt disturbed. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "Nice condo. Shame you won't keep it for long." My throat tightened. How did they know? Who were they? How did they find me already? My hands trembled as I typed back. "Who is this?" The reply came instantly. "You know who." No, I didn't. Or at least, I desperately hoped I didn't. My sister's warning. I called Rachel, my millionaire sister, instantly. She answered on the second ring, her tone sharp with worry. "What happened? Why are you calling this early?" "I think someone was in the condo," I whispered. The door was open. There was a shoe print. And I swallowed. They texted me. Her breath hitched. I heard it. Like she was expecting this. "Send me the number," she demanded. I did. There was silence on her end for a few seconds too long. "Rachel, do you know who this is?" More silence. Then, "You need to listen to me carefully. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't leave. Don't talk to strangers. I'm sending security. Stay inside." Her voice was sharp, terrified. This wasn't the sister who scolded me for wearing hole-filled shirts as a kid. This was a woman trying to keep someone alive. "Rachel, what's going on?" I asked, my voice cracking. I can't explain yet," she said. "Just trust me. Please." But before she could say more, I heard it. A knock. Slow. Deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. "Rachel," I whispered. "Someone's at the door." "Don't answer it," she yelled. But the knocking got louder. And then, a voice. Calm. Deep. Too familiar. "Open the door. We need to talk about your sister." My blood froze. This wasn't random. This wasn't a break-in. This was targeted. And the worst part? They didn't want money. They didn't want the condo. They didn't want the $5 million she gave me. They wanted something else. Something only my sister knew. Something she never told me. And that's when the voice outside spoke again. "If you don't open this door, your sister won't survive the night." My heart stopped. "Rachel," I whispered into the phone. "What aren't you telling me?" But before she could answer, the call disconnected. Silence. The knocking stopped. And I realized I wasn't just being hunted. My sister was too. The condo felt suddenly too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't calm you. It alerts you. My sister's last words echoed in my head. Don't open the door. The fear in her voice wasn't ordinary. It sounded like a person running out of time. But the man outside, his voice wasn't desperate. It was confident, like he already knew the ending of a story I didn't understand. I backed away from the door, my breath shaking. Then, a shadow moved under the door frame. He was still standing there, waiting, watching. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Rachel. Security is 12 minutes away. Don't move. 12 minutes. The man outside didn't sound like someone who planned to wait for 12 minutes. My lungs tightened. My mind raced. Why was my sister in danger? She was powerful, wealthy, respected. People adored her. But the man outside spoke like he knew something else. Something darker. I forced myself to stay calm. Then I heard it. The doorknob turning. Slow. Deliberate. Metal scraping against metal. He was trying to open it manually now. I stepped backward until I hit the kitchen counter. My hands searched for something, anything to defend myself. All I found was a ceramic plate. Pathetic, but better than nothing. The doorknob rattled harder. Then the man spoke again, voice cold. She shouldn't have taken what wasn't hers. And now she's running out of time. My heart dropped. Taken what? Money. Property. No. Rachel had plenty. She didn't need anything. So what was he talking about? The man leaves a message. The doorknob stopped rattling. Silence. Then something slid under the door. A folded piece of paper. I stared at it in horror. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But the ink on the outside caught my eye. For you. My hand shook as I picked it up and unfolded it. Inside was a photo. A recent one. My sister. Standing in front of a black car. Talking to a man with his face blurred out. On the back, a handwritten note. Ask her about the night of the accident. What accident? My mind flipped through memories like pages of an old book. Rachel and I had lived separate lives for a long time. But I didn't remember any accident. Had she hit someone? Witnessed something? Covered something up? I felt nauseous. My sister's voice suddenly echoed in my memory from yesterday. There are things I never told you. He wasn't alone. I bent down to pick up the photo, and that's when I noticed a second shadow. 2 sets of feet outside the door now. I wasn't dealing with one man. There were 2. And if there were 2, there could be more. 3 knocks shook the door again. Not slow this time. Hard. Aggressive. Boom. 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 I flinched. The second voice outside was deeper, rougher. We know you're alone in there. You have something we want. A chill shot through my spine. I don't have anything. I yelled back before I could stop myself. The first man chuckled. A low mocking sound. You do. Your sister gave it to you. What? I looked around the condo in panic. The keys? The documents? The money? What did she give me? The condo suddenly felt like a trap. A beautiful, expensive trap that someone wanted me inside. My phone buzzed again. Rachel. This time her message was terrifyingly simple. If they're already there, it's worse than I thought. I typed shakily. Rachel, what did you do? What did you give me? Her reply came instantly. Not over text. They're listening. Hide. Now. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I grabbed my phone, bolted through the hallway, and slipped into the laundry room. Small, dark, silent. I crouched behind the door. The condo fell into complete stillness. Then, a sound that froze my blood. The sound of metal tools scraping against my front door. They weren't knocking anymore. They were breaking in. I crouched in the laundry room, my hands pressed over my mouth to stifle the trembling. The sound outside grew louder. Metal scraping, faint whispers, footsteps moving cautiously through the condo. I tried to remember every self-defense move I ever learned, but all I could do was breathe and hope they didn't find me. Then unexpectedly silence. My ears strained. Not a single whisper. Not a single scrape. I risked a peek. Through the small gap of the laundry door I saw them. Two men, both tall, dressed entirely in black. They moved slowly, surveying the rooms like predators. And then one of them stopped. He held something, a file. File. With my name written across the cover. My stomach dropped. What could they want with me? The money? The condo? Or something far more dangerous? Rachel arrives. Just as I considered bolting to the balcony, my phone buzzed again. It was her. Hold still. I'm upstairs. Watch the light on the balcony, then run. I swallowed hard, my hands slick with sweat. Outside, the men were still moving, careful, calculating. I had only seconds. I sprinted through the kitchen, across the living room, and onto the balcony. Rachel was there, the city lights behind her. She handed me a small black backpack. Take this. Everything you need. And don't look back. I didn't hesitate. We jumped together to the fire escape ladder, hearts racing, adrenaline pumping. The truth begins to unfold. Once we were safely in her car, Rachel finally spoke. This, she said, gripping the steering wheel tightly, is why I gave you the condo and the money. Not just to save you from the streets, but to protect you from them. Protect me? From who? What do they want? I asked, my voice cracking. Rachel swallowed hard, eyes fixed on the road ahead. It all goes back to our family, to something our father left behind. I stared at her blankly. Our father had secrets. Big ones. Ones that powerful people wanted. And for years I thought I could keep you safe. But giving you the condo, giving you the money, it drew them here. I felt the weight of her words sink in. All this time I thought I was just a homeless, abandoned woman. But in reality, I was in the middle of a dangerous game that I hadn't even known existed. The moment I realized my life had just become a target, the men weren't after us for revenge. They weren't after us for money. They were after something that only our father and now somehow I held. What could they possibly want from me? I whispered. Rachel's hands tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles white. They think you know something. Something you don't even remember. The car sped down empty streets. I clutched the black backpack, feeling the cold metal of a safe deposit key inside. Safe deposit key? I didn't remember asking for this. I didn't even know it existed. But Rachel's expression said it all. This was bigger than us. Much bigger. Confrontation at the safe house. Rachel drove us to a hidden safe house. A modern apartment with high-tech security, cameras, and steel-reinforced doors. This is where we'll plan our next move, she said. Inside, she finally explained everything. Our father was involved with people, dangerous people. He hid something years ago, something worth millions. They've been searching for it ever since. And now they think you know where it is. I stared at her. You're telling me my life on the streets, my children abandoning me, was all connected to this? Rachel nodded. They wanted to make sure you were out of the way. But I found you before they could. That's why you have the condo and the money. I thought giving you a comfortable life would keep you hidden. But it backfired. My head spun. All this time I thought I had failed as a mother, as a grandmother. But the truth was I was a pawn in a much bigger game. The first attack. We barely had time to settle in before it happened. The safe house alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Them, Rachel said grimly. They found us. I barely had time to react. Security cameras showed 3 men at the main entrance, all wearing masks, weapons in hand, intent on getting inside. Rachel handed me a gun. My heart raced. I had never held a gun in my life. Trust me, she said. Don't aim at anyone unless you have to. Just stay alive. And then, the door exploded inward. Shards of wood and metal flew. I screamed. Rachel shouted. Adrenaline took over. Instincts I didn't know I had kicked in. I ducked, rolled behind a couch, and held my breath as the intruders stormed the room. The moment I realized everything could end tonight, the first intruder moved toward me. I raised the gun, my hands shaking, teeth gritted. He paused, and that's when I saw it. A familiar face. One of the men. It was the same man who had called me earlier. The one who knew too much about Rachel and my family. He smirked. Hello again, Mary, he said. Did you really think you could hide forever? I realized in that moment, this wasn't just about money. It wasn't about the condo. It was about a family secret buried years ago. And now it had come back to haunt us. We were trapped in the safe house, adrenaline still pumping. Rachel's face was pale but determined. I clutched the gun, my hands shaking uncontrollably. The intruders weren't just ordinary men. They moved with precision, confidence, and a chilling calmness. The first one spoke again. Mary Dawson, you have something that belongs to us. I tightened my grip. I have nothing for you. Leave. My voice cracked. He laughed. A low, menacing sound that echoed through the room. You think that. But your sister knows better. Rachel stepped forward. You won't touch her. Not now. Not ever. Her words carried the kind of strength only desperation can give. Then it all became clear. Our father had hidden something. Not money, not jewels, but documents. Documents proving the illegal activities of a powerful organization. And somehow they believed I had them. Rachel whispered in my ear. They think you have the key to unlock it. That's why they came for you. And why they want me too. I shook my head. I don't have anything. I never even knew about this. One of the men stepped closer, pointing a gun at Rachel. Don't lie to us. Hand it over. I realized then if I didn't act, my sister could die. If I didn't act, our lives would be over. Rachel and I exchanged a glance. We had no time. No backup. We had to use our wits. She whispered quickly. The key in your backpack. The one you didn't know about. I fumbled with the bag and pulled out the small safe deposit key. The men's eyes widened as they realized what we were holding. Rachel moved swiftly, throwing a small smoke bomb from the bag we hadn't noticed. Smoke filled the room, choking, blinding. We used the confusion to escape through a hidden side exit. A secret corridor leading to the underground parking. The men shouted but couldn't follow us in the smoke. Outside, Evelyn's car was waiting. We jumped in, hearts racing. They won't stop until they get the documents, she said. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel. Then we give them nothing, I said, my voice steady for the first time in hours. We destroy it. We keep ourselves alive. We drove to a private storage facility where Evelyn had hidden the father's documents years ago. There we burned everything. The fire consumed all evidence of the dangerous secret. Once it was gone, we were free, at least for now. Standing there watching the flames, I realized I had been homeless, abandoned, shattered. But through it all, I had my sister. I had my family. And together we had survived the impossible. The men outside, they would never find us again. And the condo, the money, the luxurious life, they were safe now. I held Rachel's hand and whispered, "Thank you for finding me under that bridge." She smiled softly, tears in her eyes. "You didn't need saving, Mary. You just needed a chance." Resolution. In the following weeks, life returned to a semblance of normal. I moved into the condo permanently. I kept the $5 million, but more importantly, I kept my dignity. My sister and I became closer than ever. Allies, protectors, confidants. I reflected often on the journey from the cold bridge to the luxurious penthouse. I remembered the nights of hunger, the fear, the betrayal. And I understood the world could be cruel, but it could also surprise you with miracles, with second chances, and with people who refuse to abandon you, no matter what. For the first time in decades, I felt safe, whole, and ready for whatever came next.